Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jackie, and I'm the Director of Development with Jacksonville Speech and Hearing Center. This workshop is made possible by grant funding from the Kids Hope Alliance for our Tiny Talkers program. The Tiny Talkers program focuses on early intervention for speech and language delays and disorders. There are two main components to the program. The first is to provide our screening, evaluation, and therapy services to children where they are, at their preschools. The second is to educate parents and caregivers about speech and language delays or disorders so they are identified sooner and children receive encouragement and consistent reinforcement wherever they are. When you combine these two components, children that need therapy are more likely to be identified and have a better chance of entering kindergarten with the same knowledge and skills as their peers. At the end of this workshop, you will be given information on how to access a brief survey. This is an important part of refining our program to be as helpful as possible. It also helps the Kids Hope Alliance know that their funding was well placed. I encourage you to take a moment to follow those instructions and complete the survey. If you complete all 4 trainings and would like a certificate of completion, instructions will be provided for obtaining one at the end of the series.
Hello, my name is Lauren, and I'm a speech-language pathologist with Jacksonville Speech and Hearing Center. In this workshop, we're going to cover the speech-language evaluation process. In our previous workshop, I reviewed the different types of speech-language disorders and provided some examples of what those disorders might look like, so I won't go into detail again in this workshop. But if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to check it out after this. Before I jump into the details about the evaluation process, I want to stress that if you have any questions at all about whether your child might have a speech-language delay or disorder, please have them evaluated. Most insurance companies will cover an evaluation when ordered by their pediatrician. There are also many resources available online that can help you gauge where your child should be developmentally. The important thing is that you don't ignore it. When children have untreated communication disorders, it can lead to problems with reading, writing, academic success, social interaction, behavioral problems, and more. When you decide to have your child evaluated, you should be prepared for each step of the process. My hope is that I help you with that today through this workshop. The first step I've already mentioned. You'll need to get a referral from your child's pediatrician for an evaluation. Well, you don't have to, but if you'd like your insurance to cover it, you'll need the referral. Once you've scheduled your appointment, your speech-language pathologist is going to start by collecting a full health history. We need to know a number of things that have happened so far in your child's life. There are so many factors that affect the speech and language development of a child, and it's helpful to have a whole picture when evaluating. Hearing is one of those key factors. In some cases, we may recommend a hearing test or perform a hearing screening during your speech-language evaluation. As I mentioned earlier, there are different types of speech-language disorders. There are also different types of assessments to evaluate whether or not your child has those disorders. Your provider will select the assessment that is most appropriate based on the concerns you report and the age of your child. Regardless of the assessment your provider selects, it should be a standardized one. A standardized assessment is based on established statistical reliability and validity. There are 2 types of standardized tests: norm reference tests and criterion reference tests. Norm reference tests compare and rank children to each other. It compares an individual score to a large group of individuals, typically of the same age or grade level. Criterion reference tests compare an individual's scores to a predetermined expected outcome. The methods used to capture information for an assessment may vary. Those methods include parent, teacher, child self-reporting measures, ethnographic interviewing, and observation techniques. When a parent, teacher, or self-reporting measures are used, you can expect that checklists and questionnaires will be used and information will be collected from multiple sources and compared. When ethnographic interviewing is used, you can expect open-ended questions without leading or guiding a response. It can be used to validate other evaluation outcomes. Observation techniques are exactly what they sound like. With observation, natural interaction between the child and others may be taken into account, and the provider may involve the child in playing to elicit language in various communication contexts. I'll admit that's my favorite part. There are 2 platforms for administering assessments: in-person and telehealth. In-person assessments are administered when the provider and the child are in the same room. For example, when the child is brought to the center or the provider visits the child's school. A telehealth assessment is administered through a telecommunication option, like a video chat or secure website. Now, keep in mind, not every assessment can be administered by telehealth, and not every child is a good candidate for telehealth. But when it's an option, it's a great way to reduce travel time and increase safety. If you're interested in one option over another, you can always ask your provider and they'll tell you what's best for your situation. The assessment isn't entirely about the provider and the child. This is the perfect opportunity for parents and caregivers to get involved. Ask all of the questions you can and get all of the information you want during the assessment visit. Your provider will talk through the findings of their assessment and can give you a comprehensive report of those findings. If they don't answer all of your questions for some reason, be the advocate for your child's needs and make sure you ask them. We're here to help and happy to answer any questions you may have or work through any of your concerns. You can find more information about communication disorders and the services we provide at Jacksonville Speech and Hearing Center by visiting our website at shcjax.org or by calling the office at 904-355-3403. That concludes this workshop. I hope you learned something new and helpful. This is part 2 of a 4-part series. In our other workshops, we review communication disorders, treatment options, and the role that parents and caregivers play in supporting children's general communication development and speech-language disorder treatment. You can find links to those below, along with a link to the survey for this workshop. Please remember to take that survey so we can refine this program and continue to receive funding for it. Thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.